students of secondary and tertiary education, Dhamma class students, parents, grandparents, teachers of Dhamma classes, good morning. May you all be well and peaceful. We are going to have a presentation titled Great Thoughts, Great Words. Now, these are some very wise thoughts and wise words that will help us to live more peacefully and happily. So this is a very useful thing for all of us who are facing lots of problems in these challenging times. Now, the texts are all in English and Malay or Bahasa Malaysia, while the narration will be only in English and also the explanation in English. So as usual, we will launch the PowerPoint and go over the great thoughts and great words, and then to do some discussion and reflection on this. You have many Dhamma teachings in the great thoughts and great words of various people. Now, before we show the presentation, let me check the PowerPoint as usual. It should be okay. So that is the PowerPoint. So now let us launch the PowerPoint. As you can see, the first slide, the cover slide with the title, Great Thoughts, Great Words. In Bahasa Malaysia, you can consider as fikiran hebat, kata-kata hebat. Very useful, beneficial, excellent thoughts of people, and also some of the sayings and quotes of these people. Now, let us go on to the next slide, which is slide number 2. Okay. Slide number 2 is also in a way a cover slide. So you can see the little animation of a cartoon figure thinking, right? Then after thinking only, we can speak or we can write great words, isn't it? Everything starts with the mind, so we must have the thinking first. And then after that, wise words that are beneficial can come out, right? Either through the speaking or through the writing. So that is slide number 2. Now let us go on to slide number 3. So this is number 3. Now, the saying goes like this: a smooth sea never made a skilled sailor. Now, what does this mean? Right? Now, you know, when ships sail, you have the sailors in the ship. Now, there will be a captain, perhaps, and this captain will have to navigate. We have to navigate, especially when the seas get rough. You have stormy weather. And then also when the ship has to land with an anchor, you know, just like parking a car. So in this case here, you have to park a ship. Now, you need a very, very good captain, isn't it? Just as a plane, you need a good pilot or even a train or whatever vehicles are. Now, if this particular captain sailor has little experience, then of course he will not be so skillful and be able to face the challenges of the weather, isn't it? So if all the time he has just been sailing on very, very easy, smooth seas, then he would not gain much experience. But if he has the experience of encountering rough waves, you know, rainy weather and so on, then he gains the experience and skill. Now, this is also very important for our reflection in terms of Dhamma. So if a person always lives in the comfort zone, never experiences the difficulties, the troubles of living, then he will not improve in the mind to grow in wisdom, isn't it? Whereas the person that has seen both sides of the world, right? The world where he can enjoy himself, and also the world where you have lots of suffering. And if he too has gone through this, which means he has experienced challenges and also trouble, problems, dukkha in his life, then he can grow. So one who sees dukkha, then you find he'll be interested to learn how to develop the mind to face the suffering. So there's also a very good Dhamma message here. A smooth sea never made a skilled sailor. Here you can see the Malay version. Now let us go on to number 4. Now it says, a society grows great when old men plant trees whose shade they know they shall never sit in. Now, in other words, if you have people, they may be old, adult, start planting the trees with very good intention, right, for the sake of nature, and also to provide shades, and also to hold the soil. Now, of course, it's very important to have trees, isn't it? Now you have so many problems of landslides, floods, and all sorts of things. And one of the things is because man has disrupted with nature. And then when you chop down all the trees, without any planning and thought, then you see that there is danger arising already. Because you don't have enough of the trees to hold on to the soil. And also, of course, to provide shade, and then also trees also take part in photosynthesis to supply us with more oxygen and so on. So it's very important. So when these men, so they start planting trees with such good intention for the next generation, the future generation, they actually are doing very good deeds. Not just for themselves, but for the sake of humanity, for the sake of the world and the environment. So you see, there's a very good message in Dhamma. To do things just not to benefit yourself, but to benefit others, not just of the present age, but of the future generation. And you see that the society, the environment that we live in will be better, and it will grow. Like in China, you see they have planted so many trees. So you see the development goes on, things have become better, and it will go on. And these are planted by not small boys, but by the adults, including the old people. And then this will take years for the trees all to grow. So you see, that's a very good Dhamma message. Selfless acts, good intention. There's a picture, just an animated image. Now let us go on to number 5. People will forget what you said. People will forget what you did. But people will never forget how you make them feel. That's very important. You see, let's say, a lot of good words, and maybe you have Dhamma teachings, you go on and talk, and people listen, and many of them will listen through 1 year, and out the words go through the other year. And then also maybe you help them also in terms of some dana, or you might have given some food, or say monetary donations, clothing, and so on to people for charity. But you find most people will forget, will forget what you say and forget what you did. But if you show your loving care, radiate the metta, right? Visit them when they are in trouble and give them words of counseling, and they feel so happy and good. And this they will not forget because you have touched their hearts, isn't it? You have made them feel happy, peaceful, and good. So that's very, very important. Now, there was this Chief Reverend Dhammananda, right? He passed away already, our chief monk. He used to tell us, he says sometimes, Buddhists just talk too much, all the various doctrines, this and that, this and that. And then people listen just like a lecture, academic lecture. But nothing really happens and they don't transform. Whereas you do something, make them feel happy, make them see that these are very valuable things. So they feel peaceful, happy, and they feel that these are of great benefit. Then you find they will practice the Dhamma and then also come forward to help. So he said this is one thing we have to note. So we find that you have some other religions, they go and visit the poor people, apart from giving them just the help, the food, they spend time with them, have a lot of love, right? They hug all those people who are having problems, really showing that they care to make them feel good. And all these people who might have been so-called Buddhists will convert to that religion, isn't it? So that is a very important thing for us to take note of. That is good practice of the Dhamma. Now let us go on to number 7. This is number 5. Now we go on to number 6. This is number 6. The quotation says, you can easily judge the character of a man by how he treats those who can do nothing for him. People can be very, very cunning, Sometimes you just see the surface only. He seems to be very good towards people and he speaks good things, right? But inside him is a different story. At the back of you, he might be doing unwholesome things. So this quotation is quite meaningful, that if a person shows much care, metta, and love for the people who will not, be able to help him back because they are very poor, and also maybe later on they might not be around already. So when these people go out to help, like for example, good example is people who help the animals, right? In for example, the animal shelter areas and so on. So when they do this out of pure love and care, they have a good character. They have compassion. They have metta or loving kindness because they do not expect anything. And probably the animals later on, so they might forget about him. But there are some animals like dogs, you see, they are very, very grateful. But other animals like cats or maybe rabbits and so on, after that, they will forget, isn't it? But yet these people show the care to these animals, all animals, and this includes all human beings. So that's a very, very good thing. You find some people behave very well, they don't do any good things when the police is around, right? Or maybe in the presence of other people, right? So a lot of pura-pura. And that is quite often happening in political circles. Politicians, they will say so many things and then all sorts of very superficial actions. But inside is another story. More selfishness and self-centeredness, what we can gain for ourselves. And many people are like that, Whereas there are people who are giving selfless help, selfless service, do not expect anything. When you come across these people, you can see, you can observe, then you know this is a person of good, great character. So that's also a very important Dhamma learning. In Macbeth, there's a quotation, there's no art to find the mind in the face, right? Which means that just by external thing looking, you can't really tell the character of a person, right? You got to know deeper. Now let us go on to the next one, which is slide number 7, right? Now, what does it say? It says, and in the end, it's not the years in your life that count, it's the life in your years. Now, this has been attributed to Abraham Lincoln, the great US president who abolished slavery. But also there are sources that say that it was not him, but I think it doesn't matter. There are some sources that say it's Abraham Lincoln, there are other sources that say other people and so on. But it's important that these words contain very good life lessons. Now, some people think, having a long life is the most important thing. But then, if it is a long life full of, unwholesome things that you are doing, or it's a long life, but the person doesn't do anything constructive, so it just goes on and on, then you have not really lived life, isn't it? So it's not really your long life that really counts. It's really the quality, the life in your years. In those years that you live, may the life be a shorter one, or may a person live until 60, 70, or some even until 40, 50. That is not so important. Is what have you contributed in your life, especially how much of charity, dana have you done? How much of a cultivation to develop your mind in compassion and wisdom? So it's the life that you live, the quality that is more important than just how long the life is. It may be a long, useless life. Worse still, that long, useless life, that person does so many things that harm other people. It might harm him eventually, but some, because of past karma, they do many unwholesome things, but yet they are very, what we call fatana. They're very blessed, seem to be enjoying your life and so on. But that is not the end. Because after that, there is rebirth, you see. So he has exhausted all his good karma and blessings. Then rebirth will not be into a good state because of the bad karma. So remember, very important, the life we live. Do not worry so much, oh, I want to live a long life. Every time we just spend so much time on taking steps, how to prolong that life, But how much have you really done in that life for your own mind development and for the benefit and the good of other people that you live your life, which means you have developed that compassion. So a very, very meaningful sort of quote. So, of course, this is a very nice, sentence. You can change the world. Anybody can do something that can make the world a little better. Right? Even if it's a small thing, that you help some people, or maybe you contribute in so many ways, to make even a small group of people more happy and more peaceful. You are changing a part of the world, right? So little by little, many people will contribute, and then the world can change, isn't it? So that is also a good thing. Now let us go on to number 8 now. Now, what is number 8? Number 8 talks about gratitude. That is very, very important. I mentioned before that the Buddha said in one of the scriptures, Anguttara Nikaya, the book of tools, they say 2 types of people very difficult to find. The first one is people who are willing very spontaneously to do kind things, good works, service, and so on. Not easy to find. Voluntary, they will do just a natural goodness or something like that. The second category is very difficult to find people who are grateful. That's what the Buddha said. In other words, many people, after being helped, right? Or, they have received lots of blessings in various ways, they don't feel gratitude and they don't express even the gratitude out. So you see, that is a very, very sad thing, isn't it? All religions preach about the importance of being grateful. And this quotation by Cicero, Marcus Cicero was a famous Roman orator. He was in the politics and also a very great speaker, and he had written great words of wisdom. So Cicero said this, that gratitude is not only the greatest of virtues. Virtues are the good qualities, right? The moral values, the morality, the virtues. Opposite will be vices, the bad traits and bad character. It's not only the greatest, no gratitude, but the parent of all the others. Now, you know what our parents do. Parents will give the example to the young ones, to bring them up, to guide them, and so on. So in other words, they are towering over the others, isn't it? So gratitude is the great, according to him, is not only the greatest of virtues, perhaps you can say one great virtue, and also a very important one. Just as parents are very important, isn't it? So remember that. Today, sad to say, not many do express this. I remember in the guidance classes I have taught for so many years at the Buddhist Association, right? So of course, students will come to ask for help and this and that, right? So of course, what I could do, I would just do. And important thing is the person doing the charity and dana, just don't expect anything. You can forget about it. But it is the duty of the person receiving the help to remember and express gratitude in various ways. Not because the person who helps or gives wants it, but many of them don't. They just, some will even stab you at the back in the sense that, later on they ask for guarantors to stand as guarantor because they apply scholarship. So of course, the time I was in service, so I stood as guarantors, but they have to pay back because there's a contract after they graduate from the university. Then after that, they have to pay back by someone. There were a few, that will forget about it, So then the lawyers will start writing letters to me. I mentioned this before in a talk, right? Now, so remember gratitude. Now let us go on to the next one, number 9. It says this, you've got to be very careful if you don't know where you are going, because you might not get there, right? It's true, if a person has no sense of direction in life, he's just drifting here and there, aimlessly sometimes, without any constructive values, then of course you will not realize your goal. And today you have many like that. Sometimes I ask, the Form 5 or Form 6, what do you intend to do? Don't know. See first, and then some follow their friends. So you have to be very careful, think about it, what are your goals of life, and embark on that journey with this goal in mind and with the proper good intention and motivation. Of course, don't have this bad motivation, then a bad goal to become the kidnapper or a terrorist. That is terrible. I'm talking about the good things, right? So it's very, very important. Don't be like this particular girl in the image, right? Coming to various crossroads, so she wouldn't know what to do, which to take. So in other words, to think about the goal and the direction and the plan. So if you are not like that, you'll be a lost person. Doesn't plan, doesn't bother to find out. And there's a quotation that says, if you fail to plan, you are planning to fail. Right? So that is a very important. So likewise also in life in terms of Dhamma. So we must also think about, why am I here? Who am I? Where am I heading? So what direction or what journey I must take a journey of life that's important so that I can do the meaningful things, the most important things today? No. And then later on, when they become older and a lot of problems, then they start to think, all right, where should I go? What religion should I follow? The time is sometimes a bit too late. The person might be so sick already. So it's very important right from young to know your goals of life and also to take a part that is very important, that will help you to grow in the mind, in compassion, wisdom, that will bring you benefits not only in this life but in future lives. So that is this thing about direction and goals. So now let us go on to number 10 now. So number 10, what does it say? This is also very important Dhamma teaching. Learn from the past, live in the present, and create your future. I've mentioned, or I have talked on this Dhamma teaching many times already, actually. But important things we have to repeat so that we can always remember, right? Sati, to recollect. Of course, whatever that we have learned in the past or even in history, there's a lot that we can learn from, isn't it? Let's say talking about yourself, right? So let's say in the past, you might have made some mistakes and so on. Then you learn from that. Learn from the mistakes, the shortcomings, the weaknesses, right? Or the unskillful things you have done. You have to note them, ponder on them, reflect them, acknowledge them. And then make the resolution that I will not do those unwholesome things that I did in the past. And then I will now do all the good things, as much good as possible. That is the type of mind we should develop. Whereas if you don't go in the right direction, you feel guilty, you feel remorse, you feel regret, and your mind gets very negative and very troubled. So there'll be mental suffering, and this is not a good state. So that's not the attitude. I'm not saying that you can do any wrong thing. I'm just saying that if we have done in the past some wrong, then acknowledge it, reflect on it, right? Find out what the reasons are, make the resolution, I will not repeat that, and then do the good. And another important point is to live in the present. A lot of problems and worry come because your mind goes to the future, to speculate and worry about things that are uncertain and you don't know, is useless, futile. And then some people regret, as I say, on the past. It's already gone, dead and gone. So what is important is the present. This I have mentioned many times. So then you say, then what about the future? You don't have to worry about the future in the sense that, it gives you a negative state of mind. You can plan for the future, okay? Now, if you live well the present, then the future will take care of itself. You reap what you sow. So therefore, you have to create the future. Don't say, oh, I pray to the Tuhan or what, to make my future very good. I will marry the most beautiful girl or the most handsome man, and then I will have all those planning about the future, dwelling on that are useless, wasting the time. Live a wise, righteous life now, and you are creating a very good future. So it's a fantastic Dhamma teaching here, right? So now let us go on to slide number 11 already, I think. Slide number 11. Also very important, a Dhamma teaching. Now let me do the quoting the quote first from a very famous poet, writer, Rabindranath Tagore, Nobel Prize winner in literature from India. So what did he say? He said, let me not pray to be sheltered from dangers, but to be fearless in facing them. Let me not beg for the stealing of my pain, but for the heart to conquer it. Fantastic message. People think that, right, you can be that we can secure and save if we just pray and pray, say, oh God, please do not let me have any danger or any harm and so on. I'm not saying you cannot pray about that. That's not the important thing, right? But you make that sort of a prayer, which is quite different. A Buddhist should pray like this, that I will have a good mind so that I can face whatever dangers and problems and trouble that come, which is inevitable. In life, definitely there will be trouble, problems, conflicts, and suffering. So I should make the resolution, and then after that, you take the steps. After making the resolution or contemplation, then you take the steps to do the things. You must do the things so that you can get the fruits. It's just not by praying and then sit there, and then worst thing you go and do the bad things and you expect all your prayers to be answered. No, the most important, your deeds. And then say, let me not beg for the stealing of my pain. So pain is inevitable. Suffering, body aches, sicknesses, all these are natural happenings as long as you are in samsara, the conditioned world. So if you always, try to, pray, I don't want all these things, that is not a wise move. Of course, you have pain and so on, maybe you have to seek medical help. And then maybe you can still your mind in the meditation, right? So that you can cope better. The mind improves, isn't it? And then when the mind is elevated to a very good degree, a high level, then you can conquer the pain. You can't help the bodily pains, but now your mental pain will go down and go down. So that's why I put that image about a person meditating. It's through the meditation, the silent contemplation to grow in wisdom, that you will be able to cope with all the pains of dukkha, and you can conquer them. And you can face life problems. So that is a fantastic message from Rabindranath Tagore. Now let us go on to number 12 now. What does number 12 say? It's a bit again on gratitude. So you see the teaching of gratitude, one of the most important spiritual teachings. All religions have that. Christianity also talk about that. Islam about shukr, isn't it, right? They count the blessings. Of course, they believe in the Almighty God, so they thank the God. And then you find Christians say graces before their meals, show gratitude. That is a good action. Now, Buddhists also, we have contemplation before the meals. You can also count your blessings. You say, I owe this to so many people, my parents, right? And then the people who work to provide the food, right? Then I'm so lucky to be blessed with so many things. For that, I am grateful. I am grateful to the teachers that have taught me good values. So many ways where you can express. And then on those occasions like, Mother's Day, Father's Day, then you show out. Gratitude must be expressed out. If you just say, oh yeah, I'm thankful to this and thankful to that, that is not an expression. It has to be expressed out. Then you find that is a good practice. Like Teacher's Day, maybe you want to send a message to the teacher to whom you are very grateful, or of course the parents, and many other examples. So this also very famous person, let us be grateful to the people who make us happy. The people who have benefited us, who have made us wiser, who have helped us to develop the mind, to know how to think more wisely. So they are like the gardeners, that plant all these fantastic flowering plants, and then the flowers bloom. Wow, you feel so happy seeing all those things. So the people who have helped you, who have served you, or who have made your life better. So they are like the gardeners who plant all those beautiful flowers. So that is also a very important point to reflect upon. Now let us go on to number 13. Now, the 13 says this: make the very most of this day. Experience every moment. Drink in all it has to offer, for it will only be here once. Which means, again, is the principle of living in the present, right? To be more concerned about today, what you can do, rather than most of the time just thinking of the past, dwelling, regretting on the past, or just speculating, worrying about the future. Every day, make that day meaningful. Remember, I gave that quotation. Yesterday is history, just a memory. Tomorrow is uncertainty, a mystery. What matters is today. That's why the present is called a gift. So which means cherish today. What you can do today, the positive things that you do today, and that is the important aspect. By the way, drink in all it has to offer. Don't think that you go and drink all the liquor and so on. It's not that. It's just that that day, you have all the happenings, you have all the experiences, know them, accept them, learn from them, embrace them peacefully, whether positive or negative. That is what it means. Because remember, today is just happening now, moment to moment. Tomorrow, today, no more already, isn't it? It's gone. So then how would you know that today will be carried on tomorrow and tomorrow becomes today? Today might be your last day. That's why people suddenly die in the accident or some very strange cause. I've also, encountered students that go to sleep and then never woke up already. As you have heard also in the papers of this pandemic time, right? Fall and then suddenly no more today already, right? So when you know this uncertainty of the future, a mystery, then you know that make good use of today or what you can do, right? So there's a very beautiful Dhamma message also. Now let us go on to number 14 now. Number 14 says about non-violence, a very important thing. And this was quoted by Thomas Edison, one of the very famous scientists from US. I think it was Edison that invented the electric bulb. Thomas Edison, a very famous scientist. So he said, non-violence leads to the highest ethics, which is the goal of all evolution. Now, let us look at this first part. Now, we know we have a process of evolution. We evolve, not only physically, of course, according to the evolution, that we have evolved from the lower animals, going on to, mammals which are more sophisticated, like the ape and monkey and so on, before we evolve into the human beings. That is physical. But the mind also is evolving, you see, that the human mind is fantastic, isn't it, compared to the animals? So one very important principle of life we have to learn is never practice violence. So if there is non-violence, then you are actually practicing the highest, you can say, morality. In fact, the whole of the morality in Buddhism, in fact, I think all religions also, is never do something, either of your mind, of the speech, or the body, that will harm yourself and harm another person. That is the great moral principle. Not say never do this thing because God asked me not to do. Another religion says that, oh my God says that this one. So there's no end to all these arguments. But the important principle is never do anything that harms yourself or another person. Then actually, that is the moral target. So that's the important thing of evolution. So that we have become wiser. So then the next part says, until we stop harming all other living beings, we are still savages. That means, and today you can see that also. People murdering, people torturing others, you have terrorists killing the poor mothers and children, bombings here and there. So they are not much better than some of the savages. No, long time ago, maybe you have those terrible savages that would kill, they would kill people to get their heads or even to eat the flesh. Also, some of the beasts of the animal, of the jungle, right? So they are savages, very dangerous, isn't it? Some animals. So you're not much better than that. But you are supposed to be a very, very developed human being with the most developed mind, isn't it, in our world. So if you don't do that, then you are not much better than a savage, a very ferocious animal, or maybe a caveman, violent type person. That is a very, very wise saying. And the important thing is no harming others, right? No acts of violence, or this is just image to show anger and hatred and all the acts of aggression and violence, which is not good, of course. Now we go on to number 15. Number 15 says persistence. In fact, motivators has said, many motivators have said, there's one golden trait that runs through all success, and that golden trait is persistence. I think I might have done a posting on that also, all right? On persistence. Persistence means perseverance, to always go on and never just to give up so easily, right? So the saying goes that persistence is the twin sister of excellence. Now, if you want to have excellence, you want to have an excellent achievement, or a very fantastic goal, good goal, realize you cannot just sit down and do nothing, isn't it? And not just to try once only, you have to keep on doing it. As there's one saying that goes like this: quitters never win, winners never quit. If you are a winner, you will never quit. You see the great athletes, they keep on trying, they keep on practicing, keep on persisting until they become champions. Likewise, also, you have some of the great scientists, or even with, let us say, the singers, dancers, actors, right? They are very diligent, persist. So you have two aspects. One is a matter of quality, the other a matter of time. Now, which means you need patience, that over time, your great diligent work, your perseverance will pay off. And then you are capable of achieving something very great. Maybe, like for example, I told you about the scientist Thomas Edison. Persistence, he went on despite many, many failures. He still went on until he discovered the thing, the electric bulb, you see. And there are many examples in science and also in literature. I remember there was this a writer, the writer of this, The Godfather, yes, right? So this writer, when he wrote The Godfather, that book, and Mario Puzo, yes, I remember now. Mario Puzo, I read the book, I've seen the movie. Now, when he first wrote the book and then submitted to the publisher, I think more than 17 publishers rejected. They say, who wants to know about your mafia? He was from Italy, went to US. Who wants to know about your mafia in Italy? All those things. So they rejected. But he did not give up. He persisted. He edited the thing, rewrote some of the things, and go on until 17 publishers have rejected him. Then the 18th one accepted it. And I think if you know the background, he became a fantastic bestseller. One of the great books that earned him so much money and became a millionaire. From a very poor person, he became a millionaire. And the movie made Godfather. Wow, I tell you, got in so much money and became one of the fantastic movies of all time. Highly rated. So you see how important persistence is. And it's the twin sister of excellence. Then you get the excellence, just like the example I've given you, Thomas Edison, and the writer Mario Puzo. So let us go on to number 17 now. Oh, number 16. Just now persistent 15, now number 16. It says this: success is not fatal. Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. This is a very important statement from this great Prime Minister during the Second World War period, Winston Churchill. He was a Nobel Prize winner for literature, and his great thoughts and words, motivating words, and this was one of them. He says, don't think that, you achieve one success in the battle, that's all already. No, you have other battles to do. In life, it's like that. You might achieve a certain success, right? But you say, I'm successful already, I've earned the money a lot already, and then you're lazy already. You squander the money away. No, you have to keep on getting other successes. That is the material world. But in terms of Dhamma, you say, now I'm more peaceful already. It's not final yet. You have been successful in the Dhamma practice, but you have to go on. There are greater heights until final goal is attained, and that is enlightenment. Right? And then the other aspect, failure is not fatal. Fatal means something like failure is not the end of things. No hope already. That is fatalistic. That is wrong. Failure is not failure, but failure is failure to get up after you fall. So you see, very important lesson. Don't consider failure is no more hope already. No use already. Like dead already. That is wrong attitude. Everybody fails. How can there be success without failure, isn't it? So when you know that, then you have to keep on at it. Diligence, one of the very important qualities. So he says that what is important is the courage to continue that counts. As I told you, failure is not failure, but failure is failure to get up, to continue and rise again. That is the courage that we must have. In Malay, just to sum up, we say, jangan berputus asa. Alright? Like this cartoon. I can do it. I won't give up. At first he thought, I can't do it, I give up. Then after that, reflect, I can do it, I won't give up. That is an important attitude, you see. Let us now go on to number 17. Now, he says, what's the difference between stumbling blocks and stepping stones? It is how you use them. Sometimes you meet with problems or obstacles or halangan, hindrances in life, and you say, ayo, terrible, I cannot go on already, I give up. That is a wrong attitude. You should say that these are challenges. These are problems that I must try to overcome. These are the obstacles I will have to remove on my path to attain my goal. So in other words, you turn the problems, the obstacles and the halangan or hindrances into learning lessons. Just like stepping stones, you use the stepping stones or to reach your goal, maybe the peak of a mountain. And some give up easily. Ayo, you see, the stones are so lousy, the steps are so broken, all this cannot lah. This can cause me to fall, everything. That kind of attitude, you never succeed. So that's why you see challenges, problems, hindrances, obstruction, obstacles must be taken as stepping stones, as things that you must learn to overcome and conquer, and then you will achieve success. That is a beautiful lesson also, right? Now let us go to number 18 now. Number 18 is on the practice of dana. If you give a good thing to the world, then over time your karma will be good and you receive well. This is the famous lesson of karma, right? The law of moral causation. You can see the moral law of cause and effect. Do good and good will come to you. Do bad and bad will come to you. Good begets good, bad begets bad. So karma is neutral. It doesn't favor anybody. When you understand it, then you cannot completely understand it because you must be enlightened. But you understand it to a good degree, then you can accept many of the things that are happening in the outside world as well as to yourself especially. Then you can even answer questions like, why do good things sometimes happen, good things happen to bad people, bad things happen to good people. Is it a God that made it like that? Then the God is playing a game, isn't it? So when we understand karma, then we can actually live a life of meaningfulness, to avoid the bad things and do the good things, because the good things will bring the positive results, right? So that is a very important thing, karma. And karma just means the intentional action. What we do with our mind, with intention, you can think bad thoughts, you can think good thoughts, isn't it? So that's considered a mental action. Then what you speak, right, with intention, whether good speech or wrong speech, right speech or wrong speech, and what we do with our body, whether right action or wrong action. I have gone over this many times already, the things we should avoid. These will have their results, either in this life later on or in future lives. So when we know this, what goes around comes around, which means that you hit your fist against the wall, you do something like this, you get the reaction, you get the pain. In this case, it's almost instantaneous, but in certain cases, the karma does not ripen immediately. It will take time, some very, very fast. Like there was this case about, two people who love hunting, going to the jungle, right? So that is not a skillful action, because to hunt for animals, terrible. The poor animals will be so frightened. Imagine you kill the mother, the baby of the animal that got killed. Will be so, sorrowful, isn't it? So he started killing all the wild pigs and so on. Then later on, he was killed, just the same, maybe within the hour itself, because his friend mistook him to be a wild boar and killed him. But that was an actual thing. This is what we call a karma vipaka. The effect are taking place so fast. But in other cases, longer, maybe next life or maybe later part in life. I've also given Dhammapada stories on this. Now, because of time constraint, we have to move on already. Now we go on to number 19. What does number 19 say? It says life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing now? And this is from the famous person, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Now, I just tell you this interesting, you can say story, or maybe an anecdote, right? So there was this man, right? He said, oh God, why is it like that? There's so much trouble, so many problems in the world. The weather is not good, and then life is so much of suffering, so many problems. Why don't you do something? You have to do something. There are so many people who are poor. There are people who are sick. You have to do something. God, why didn't you do all this? Then out from heaven came a very loud voice. I send you. I send you. Now, this is a story anecdote, but very important message. You always complain, you appeal, you criticize, you condemn, you curse, and so on. But the question is, what are you doing now for others? People like to criticize, complain, condemn, curse, but don't do anything. I've seen a lot of this. They like to criticize, you should not do like this, you should not do like that. Just criticizing. Usually I don't pay attention to association to people who are like that. They just criticize, condemn everything without offering any constructive suggestion, without lifting a finger to help. They are just what we call an armchair critic. So I ignore this. So the important question is, what are you doing for others? So we do what we can when we still can. That's an important motivational quote. We do what we can when we still can. So you see, this is a very, very good quote. So now let us go on to number 20 now. So remember this. I think I still have about 5 minutes. You must always think of other people. The person who always is self-centered, always thinking about himself, what he can gain, what he can benefit. So you find his character, his actions, and his speech are all centered on this I, me, mine. This is mine. I want this for myself. These sort of people virtually are not walking the spiritual path, and really they would not be happy and peaceful. It's a matter of time. Whereas another person, oh, he's like the Bodhisattva, doing so much good for the benefit of others. At the same time, also developing his mind to grow in wisdom and compassion. You know, this Dr. Matthew Ricard, the Venerable Dr. Matthew Ricard. So Time magazine once featured him as the happiest man on earth. They did the research in the University of Wisconsin. They put all the probes into the brain while he was meditating. He is one person. You can read his books or listen to his talks, Dr. Matthew Ricard. And he is one that is so compassionate. He lives around the Himalaya mountains. He was a scientist from France. And he has done so much for other people. And also developing his mind. Two aspects. All right. We do for others as well. Also, we also have to take care of our mind, isn't it? Otherwise, you might get burnt out. And some social workers. So, but this is the important thing. Not just criticize, condemn, curse, and complain. Ask yourself, what am I doing to help to resolve the situation? That is this important question. Now let's go on to number 20. This one is a very interesting old Indian saying. This says, I know you have various Indian tribes in America. So when the Christopher Columbus discover America, of course the people there were the Red Indians, right? So they were actually not given a good deal. When we were young, we used to see, wow, these Western soldiers fighting the Red Indians, as we always would side with the Western soldiers. No? But these poor Orang Asli, you can say, the original people there, they also have very great wisdom. So there's this very interesting old Red Indian saying, when you were born, you cried, and the world rejoiced. Isn't that very true? When the baby is born out, it cries, isn't it? He doesn't laugh. Right? Interesting, isn't it? Of course, doctors might say, oh, he needs to breathe. So he actually laughing also, you can also open your mouth and then. But actually, it's an interesting thing. He cries. He comes into the world, away from the comfort of the mother's womb. So there's suffering coming to the world. So he cries. But the parents, relatives, other family members very happy. Oh, baby, cute baby, all rejoice. It's quite common, you can see lah, right? But the next part is very important. So the baby grows up, and then education, and grows old, and so on. Then one day he will die, isn't it? So you should live a life so that when you die, people feel very sad. They have lost a person that is so good, and the person that has contributed so much for the peace and happiness of the world or for other people, selfless sacrifice, right? A lot of good work, though. But you, because you have lived such a fantastic, good, righteous, and wise life, then you die with a smile. Because you have lived a life, you have come into this world better than when you were just born, right? Yeah, you are living this world. Sorry, you are living this world better than when you were just born, you know. So then you can die joyfully. But there's a beautiful article written by Ajahn Brahma, right? Living meaningfully, dying joyfully. Very meaningful article. Living joyfully, dying, living meaningfully. Of course, when you live meaningfully, you'll be joyful also. But anyway, the title is Living Meaningfully, Dying Joyfully. You can check it on internet, you can get that article. If you want the article, you can contact me, email or WhatsApp or whatever, and I can send the article to you actually. So that is this very important proverb or a saying of the Red Indians, right? Now let us come to the end already. So, we have come to the end of this presentation, full of Dhamma, lots of life teachings. I hope you have benefited. This more suitable not for the primary students, the secondary students, the college students, the university students, and the Buddhist youths, and even all the adult members. So we have to reflect on all the quotations and the sayings or the statements of wisdom. That's why I titled this as Great Thoughts, Great Words. From the thoughts, all these come the great words. Whether the words are spoken or the words are written in the form of books, articles, magazines, and so on, nevertheless, they have fantastic value. For Buddhists, of course, the greatest words are the words of the Buddha in the scriptures, right? The greatest words. But then many other famous people, wise people, also have given these wise words, which basically contain the same meaning as a lot of the things the Buddha taught, but they are put maybe in a different format, a different language structure, English structure to make the things easier. So they also have Dhamma. So that's why I pick many of the things that have fantastic Dhamma inside. So before we conclude, let us look at this final aspiration. May wisdom lead us to mental peace and bliss. And in Bahasa Malaysia, semoga kebijaksanaan membawa kita ke kedamaian mental dan bahagia. Actually, that's what we want, isn't it? All of us want mental happiness and peace. But in order to attain that, we must have the wisdom as one of the aspects. And of course, that part, the most important part that will lead us to this, the greatest peace, happiness, bliss, and liberation is the Noble Eightfold Path. Mentioned that many times, isn't it? So now before we say sadhu 3 times, right? Let us put our palms together. Before that, I should express my thanks and appreciation to all those who are following this presentation, students, parents, grandparents, teachers, all Buddhist youths and so on. So I thank you for taking time to follow this presentation patiently and also putting in your energy and effort to maintain that mindfulness and concentration to follow the presentation. So now let us say sadhu 3 times. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. May you all be well, happy and peaceful, and may the Dhamma be with you always. Take care.